welcome back to my channel. Mermaid Nina here. I thought in tonight's video we would talk about Disney's newest ride, their newest attraction over at Epcot. That is right, I am talking about Ratatouille. There's a lot of things kind of going on about how, maybe you would get a pass and how you can actually ride this ride that I thought I would go over, basically the top things that you need to know about Ratatouille. I will warn that even though I will put in a few snippets from the ride, I will try not to do a huge amount of spoilers by posting the entire ride. But yes, I have physically been on Ratatouille myself, so I definitely can speak upon this new exciting ride. So let's get to it. You guys ready? Okay, first thing you need to know, like I said, is it's Disney's newest ride and it's at Epcot, located in, you guessed it, Paris, which of course is located near the Skyliner. If you are trying to figure out where exactly it's located, Epcot is pretty big. So it is located in the World Showcase closest to the International Gateway, which is where the Skyliner meets, in case you were kind of wondering about that on the map. Now there's two options available to ride, and I'm going to mention it right now. None of the options are walk up and stand in line. So you need to do one of these two options to be able to ride Ratatouille. The whole walking up and just getting in line, not a thing for this ride at this time. The two options are to secure a boarding group. If you've been around for a while, similar to Rise of the Resistance, how Rise of the Resistance had a boarding group, Ratatouille now has a boarding group. Or you can pay to ride Ratatouille by using the individual lightning lane over at, as part of Genie Plus, as part of the new system. You can go ahead and pay to ride it. So two options to ride, none of which are just walk up. You cannot walk up to ride Ratatouille. Now, of course, the first question I get is, okay, Nina, I like boarding group. Boarding group sounds good. It also sounds free. How do I get a boarding group? Okay, so how do you get a boarding group for Ratatouille, like I said, is very similar, if not the exact same way that you used to get a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance. First thing you must know is you 100% need to have an Epcot park reservation for the day if you're gonna get a boarding group. So you need to have already secured Epcot as your park for the day. Then you have two options to secure a boarding group. One happens at 7 a.m., for which case you can actually be in your resort room. You can even be in your PJs laying in bed. Disney doesn't care. But at 7 a.m., basically you can be at your house or your resort. The other option is 1 p.m., in which case you need to already be at Epcot or have scanned into Epcot already for that afternoon. Now, how do you physically get it? Well, of course, you get it on the app, right? So you got to open up your phone. You got to go to the My Disney Experience app. On the very first screen, if you scroll up a little bit, you will see something called Virtual Queue. You click on it. Then it's going to ask you whether you want Epcot or Disney Springs, which I think is kind of funny. If you're watching this video after the holidays, I'm sure it'll just say Epcot. So you go ahead and it says Ratatouille, and then you want to confirm your party. So you want to make sure mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever is actually going to ride this ride, you select. Then you want to press refresh and refresh and refresh, and you want to scroll down or pull it down, whatever you need to do to keep refreshing the screen. Because as soon as 7 a.m. or 1 p.m. hits, I'm talking the second it turns over, those passes will go live. And then obviously you need to click join the queue. If you've made it, it'll say congratulations, you joined the queue. It'll give you a boarding group number. You could be number one, lucky you. That means you're gonna be riding as soon as the park opens. You could get a boarding group like in the 60s or the 80s, and that means you're gonna ride later on in the day. But either way, as long as you have a boarding group, that pretty much means you are gonna ride it that day, unless you know, something happens like the ride breaks down. But either way, that is how you get a boarding group. Now you want to keep an eye on your boarding group because in the, you know, the tip board area of the Genie section, it'll tell you, you know, what number is being called and when it's going to be your turn to ride Ratatouille. But that's essentially how you get a boarding group. If you've missed the 7 a.m. option, right, you can always try again at 1 o'clock. But here's something you need to kind of realize. First, it's peak season right now. It's holiday season. Passes are going fast. A few weeks ago, you know, those boarding groups were kind of lingering out there a little bit longer than usual. Right now, nope, they're gone. They are going fast. So you really have to be on the ball. You need to be in that second and secure, you know, join the queue. Other thing you need to know is if you choose to just pay for it, that is the option. You can choose to just pay for an individual Lightning Lane pass, which right now is going for about $9. So that's about $9 per person to ride Ratatouille right now. So you can go ahead and just pay for it. And then again, you've secured yourself a spot. Now those individual Lightning Lane passes have been lingering throughout the morning and early afternoon. Those haven't been gone super duper fast. You do have some time to kind of consider if you'd rather try a boarding group or you'd rather just get her done and pay for it. Of course, it's all up to you. Now, here's a few other things you need to kind of know about the situation. Right now, the line for Ratatouille, that means once your boarding group number has been called, you have to actually wait in line, right? So the boarding group number doesn't mean you walk straight on the ride. It means you can then get in line for the ride. And unfortunately, that line has been, well, long. Pretty long. I went opening weekend, which I get, you know, that was opening weekend. The line was like an hour and a half to 2 hours long, which is pretty ridiculous if you think about it. So we got a boarding group number and then we had dining reservations and we kind of had to choose Ratatouille or eating, Ratatouille or eating, because it put us in a bit of a pickle. Luckily, we were able to do both, but I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. But either way, just note that just because you have a boarding group pass doesn't mean you're walking on the ride. It means that you now get to stand in line once your boarding group number has been called. The other thing you need to know about is boarding groups have been taking a lot longer than usual. I don't know if it's in addition of the individual Lightning Lane or if Ratatouille is breaking down, but basically when you first get your boarding group, sometimes it'll estimate, okay, you get to ride in 120 minutes. You get to ride in 160 minutes. And so you kind of count back and you think, great, that means I can ride at 1 o'clock. I can ride at 2 o'clock, which means my dining reservation isn't going to be affected. Well, due to who knows what reason, quite possibly individual Lightning Lane, those boarding groups haven't been loading as quickly as they should or as, you know, they advertise in the app. So just note that if you have a longer or a higher boarding group number, it could take you a little bit longer to ride Ratatouille than originally thought. So just note that it is backed up a little bit between individual Lightning Lane and the boarding groups. The ride is just backed up. Next thing you need to know is essentially about the ride, right? Nina, what is Ratatouille? What is it? I mean, I get that it's about the movie and there's probably a rat, but what is it, Nina? So without spoiling too much in these video clips here, Ratatouille is basically a part virtual reality ride. That means giant screens. That means 3D glasses, okay? The other part of it is a trackless ride. So if you have ridden Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, you will know what I'm talking about. It means it's a ride, but it's not on a track, right? It's not a coaster. It kind of floats down and by, you know, mechanically, you know, with the mechanism underneath the floor, which I'm sure is magnet based. But that is essentially the system. So it's a very low key ride in terms of the physical car, right? The physical ride. It's kind of low key. The thing about it, however, is the virtual reality. It's really intense. I'm going to be honest and truthful in this. This is kind of a part review for Ratatouille. It's intense. The screens are huge. So your car goes super close to a screen. And so bam, in front of your face is a giant screen. And of course you're wearing these 3D glasses. And the screen, that what's filmed on the screen is really intense. I mean, the rat's diving and dipping and trying to escape through the kitchen, right? You've seen the movie, you've seen what Ratatouille does in the kitchen. He's running around trying to get stuff. Well, that's essentially what's going on in the ride on that screen. So, even though this ride is technically for all ages, I just would be a little bit mindful if you have a little who might be just a little scared by that kind of, closeness, that kind of virtual reality. And also note motion issues as well. And included in the ride, I do have to mention there is some spinning. There is a section where your car kind of stops and does like a 360, I want to say 2 or 3 times. It wasn't too bad. Obviously, if you can ride teacups, then you can 100% handle the spinning on Ratatouille, but just note that it does happen. Now, I mentioned motion sickness. The reason I'm mentioning it is because it affected me. If you guys have been watching me for a while, you will know that I have motion sickness. I have motion sickness really bad. There's a majority of rides that I can't even look at, let alone ride them. And then there's some rides that, depending on the day, my mood, who knows what reason, I will have to close my eyes a little bit to get through the ride. Like Soarin'. I absolutely love Soarin', but there's certain seats within that ride that I do have to kind of close my eyes for. Over in Canada, there used to be that 360 movie where the screen was really close. I couldn't do that experience either. Very much motion sickness for me. Sometimes I have issues on elevators. Rise the Resistance, I don't have too many issues, although there is that one little drop where I kind of hold myself tight for that whole quick 2-second drop. But anyway, that is an issue I have. So going into Ratatouille, I was nervous. I was scared. I did some research. In fact, I even put out a survey. Come find out, many people have experienced motion sickness issues on Ratatouille, mainly because of the virtual reality screens. Like I said, you are pushed up super close to those screens, and the characters are big, and things are moving fast within the screen that you're watching, plus with the glasses. So here's my few little tips. If you're nervous about the motion sickness, right, you could always just skip the ride. Or note that Nina did it. Nina got through it. Nina survived. I did close my eyes for about 95% of the ride. That's right. I've been on Ratatouille. I got up super early to get a boarding group for me to only close my eyes for the majority of the ride. I'm just being honest, guys. That's how the motion hit me. It hit me instantly. So any of the screens where you stopped to do a virtual reality screen, I had to close my eyes. There were a few times I would open them to kind of peek to see what was going on, and then I would instantly close them again. Same thing with the spinning. As soon as I felt that spinning, I just instantly clutched my eyes closed and was hoping it would be over quickly. So you can always do what Nina did and just close your eyes. You can also attempt to remove the 3D glasses. So I had a few people tell me the first time they rode it, the motion sickness was pretty bad. The second time they rode it without the glasses on, and it was much better. So you can give that a try. Also, don't forget to do, the simple tricks like, take some ginger pills, chew a ginger chew, put on ginger oil, whatever it is you do, chew gum. I was chewing gum during Ratatouille. I was chewing some gum really intensely, chomp, 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 trying to get through it. You can also, maybe try Dramamine. Any of those kind of motion sickness things that work for you might help you with Ratatouille. I did use some special motion sickness oil drops. I don't know if they worked or not. I mean, I still got the motion issue, but I didn't get sick. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So either way, just note that Ratatouille, although, an awesome experience for many people, for others, perhaps not so magical. In fact, the reviews on Ratatouille are mixed. The majority of people do love it. They think it's a great ride. Others are calling it kind of a one and done. They're happy to have ridden it one time and then they're done. There are people who say they would never ever pay to ride Ratatouille, But at the same time, do you really want to get up first thing in the morning at 7 a.m. to get a boarding group to then just wait in another line to ride it? Again, all this stuff is up to you. I think that everyone should try Ratatouille if you can, but just note that if you have any motion concerns or if you have a real little that you're kind of worried about, maybe avoid it or, do those extra precautions for Ratatouille. The other kind of cool thing about Ratatouille is because of the two ways that you can score passes for Ratatouille by either getting a boarding group or by getting an individual lightning lane, you can technically double dip. That's right. That means if you do both, secure a boarding group and pay for an individual lightning lane, you can technically ride Ratatouille twice in one day. That's right. Because of the way the system is working right now for that ride, that is the best way for you to kind of double dip. So if you are thinking you are going to love this ride, if you really want to give it your all, perhaps you're only going to Epcot for one day and you want to maximize all your Ratatouille that you possibly can, just note that you can do that. You can get that boarding group, hopefully, secure it in the morning, and then also pay for it and get to ride it twice. Now, the one concern I hear everyone asking, which yes, I did experience, I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the video. Let's say you do get a boarding group for Ratatouille. Let's say your boarding group number gets pushed further and further down the day for whatever reason, delays, individual lightning lane, or whatever. But later in the evening, you have dining reservations. In my situation, my dining reservation was for Space 220. So in the moment, I literally had to choose Ratatouille, Space 220. Which one do you pick? It was so difficult. I actually went up to a cast member and asked, and at that time, they told me they would not hold my Ratatouille pass for me because it was opening weekend. Which was kind of a bummer because the standby lane was so long. There was no way I was getting into Ride Ratatouille and then also making it to Space 220, who also doesn't hold your reservations past, 15, 20 minutes. Luckily, someone felt bad for me and they let me in. But note the new rule. I have talked to several of you. I have talked to my clients. They are now allowing people who are in that predicament to kind of show up later. So if you get into the situation where you have a boarding group, your number has been called, but you are stuck at your dining reservation or something else like really important that you had a reservation for, you can kind of take a screenshot of that and show that to a cast member once you are finally able to get into the line for Ratatouille. Of course, no guarantees. Each cast member kind of sometimes has their own little rules and things that they have to follow. But just note that what happened to me with the cast member telling me no is not traditionally the case. They are kind of understanding that boarding groups are getting pushed back and back and back, and people obviously don't want to miss their dining reservation. So just note that if you get into that situation, it's always worth taking a screenshot, giving it a try, go back to Ratatouille and tell them what happened. So anyway, guys, that is kind of the things to know regarding Ratatouille, right? You know where it's at Epcot. You know the two ways that you can ride it, right? Boarding group or pay for it, individual lightning lane. And you know what the ride is about, and you know to just be careful if you are anything like me. I have issues in the car. I have issues on airplanes. I even have issues in elevators. So the fact that I had issues on Ratatouille is not surprising to me at all. But hopefully this answers all your questions at Ratatouille. Let me know if you're giving Ratatouille a chance, right? It was a very cute ride. It's very quick. However, I don't want to say it's simple, but then in the end, it is kind of simple because you kind of go up to a screen, virtual reality, you move around a little bit, another screen, virtual reality, you dive around again, another screen, virtual reality, and then it's kind of over. It's cute, it's simple, it's a ride at Disney, right? So give it a try. If you can, do it without too much sickness. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this snippet into what you should know about Ratatouille. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. If the subscribe button is red, please click it, turn it gray, hit the bell icon for notifications. Like this video, love it when you guys like. And yeah, let me know what you think about Ratatouille. Have you ridden it? Did you get sick? Did you ride it and you were afraid of getting sick, so you did something? Let me know. Any sort of motion issue, concern that you have with Ratatouille, I want to know, because I plan on going on it again and I need to open my eyes because I am truly embarrassed that I have been on the ride but didn't actually see what was going on too well. So anyway, guys, as always, mahalo for watching. Nina out. Bye.